to read the updates because I didn't know where they were going, what they were going to say, and I had to put on my big boy pants and grow up and deal with the reality. We can't deny what has happened to him. And you're right, he could be forced out before his retirement date to have a medical retirement. And you can't predict this stuff at all. Life
No.
just life just happens. But the faith part of life happening is that we have a receptacle. We have a place where we're going. We have hope as we're going through all of this transition, and it just has me wonder all the time what people who do not have a relationship with Jesus Christ, who do not have the hope of everlasting life. How are they coping with the same reality that we have to cope with Christ? Just a second. How did you get? You've been drinking that for the past few minutes, and did they refill your iced tea? Because it looks like
No,
it's
it's just huge. I mean, I can't help it. They take care of me here. What can I say?
I, uh, help me, Holy Ghost. I'm hoping.
I know you're not. I know you're not used to that kind of love and service, but you can get it in Nairobi.
Let me ask you a question about Nairobi. Are there parts of Nairobi that are not safe?
Yes.
And is it like more like an urban area, or is it just an area that's not safe?
Well, you know, Nairobi is a city that is huge. There are millions of people here, and you have a lot of people coming in from the countryside.
Okay.
And then you have people who now have lived here for many years in what are called slums. And in the slum area, there's a lot of theft and violence. And but generally, Nairobi is a wonderful place, but you just always need to be careful. Even the Kenyan people are always careful about you don't flash your money. You try to you don't hang around in dangerous places
Okay.
where people could steal your pocketbook or
Yeah.
pickpocket you or stick a gun in your chest and take your money. And so we warn people. We try to train people. If you come with us, suppose like you go to an ATM, you can go to an ATM here and use your debit card and withdraw money in Kenya shillings. But if you then don't get in your car, let's say walk a few blocks to where you're staying, there's a possibility that somebody was watching you take that money. And especially if you're from the West. And, for white people especially, but also even for African Americans, if you are identified as an American, you got like a target on your back with some people here. So you need to be careful. But generally, it's a wonderful place.
How do you manage that?
Well, I'm usually with my Kenyan friends, and I don't usually go walking out in the street alone. Now, when I lived here, I would jog for miles. I had a motorcycle, so I would often be out by myself. But I was pretty street smart and knew where I was, and I wasn't looking for trouble. I wasn't just hanging out, in some place. I was going from my house to the church. I was going from my house to a speaking engagement, my house to some kind of ministry. So I was usually focused on where I was supposed to be.
Yeah, I think that's important. As I mentioned to you before, years ago, when we used to go on missionary tours with Grace Chapel, we would spend a week together at the Grace Chapel at someone's home in Lexington, and we would spend 5 days, but each day we would spend time going over developing our relationship as missionaries together with each other. we wanted to be tight. We wanted to know who each other was. We wanted to deal with any issues that would come up over there. We wanted them to come up during our training. So when we left and we went to wherever we were going, we were tight. We knew the culture. We were taught the culture. So that's what you're saying, that you know the culture, the people that you're with, they have your back, they're watching you, and you're not doing anything stupid when you're in the streets at all.
Right.
Yeah,
More,
and the fact that you're urban anyway, right? The fact that you're urban
mhm,
anyway gives
it
you
helps.
a sense of it helps tremendously. Yeah,
Yeah, growing up in Newark, I was always ready to get jumped. You know, I was
yeah.
always ready for some fool to come up and want to fight me. And, you know, you just have to pray a lot and you have to, uh, the way you carry yourself. But if you look confused and if you obviously flashed your money, then you might soon be parted from it. And, you know, but God is good. There are some wonderful, I mean, there's so many ministries here in Nairobi. I think there are more missionaries in Nairobi. It used to be the cities that had the most missionaries were like Nairobi, Hong Kong, and London.
Okay.
And they're pretty nice cities. And a lot of missionary organizations will set up their headquarters in these world-class cities. So Nairobi is a city of a lot of wealth and a lot of contrast between wealth and poverty, like most cities. You know, in Boston, you can find some of the richest people in the world, and you can go to some neighborhoods where people are absolutely poor, and
Hmm.
they're in the same place. And that's true here in Nairobi. But Nairobi, I'm sure, has far more churches and more Christians than Boston does. And it's just, um, religion is alive and well in Africa.
Well, talk to me about the post COVID-19 church over in Nairobi. What is it like as far as the number of people coming out? Because you probably didn't have a context on what it was like prior to COVID, but what do the churches look like, the size of the churches and the vitality?
Well, Kenya pretty much shut down during COVID. There were periods here in Kenya where if you were like up country and you were trying to visit your relatives, all of a sudden the government said no travel. You couldn't even
Yeah.
come home. You were isolated wherever you were for those couple of months. And, you know, there are people, even today, we were in Kibera with the school and they were using microphones. And every time they would hand the microphone to somebody, they would spray it, wipe it off to give it to you. So there's still sort of a COVID reaction prevention.
Okay.
They don't wear
Okay.
masks anymore, but there's certainly the awareness of how terrible the pandemic was. Now, COVID, everybody thought COVID would be worse than it was in Africa. And it turned out to be not as bad as they predicted, thank God. And, you know, there's a lot of sunshine here. People are outside a lot more. That made a big difference.
Well, let me. Okay, I'm sorry. I was looking at you talking on the TV, and there was no sound coming out, and I'm saying, "Uh-oh, do
Oh,
we have a problem?" No, 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 no. The TV sound is off. There shouldn't be any sound. I should just be listening to the headset. So, are you still providing pastors for Calvary Gospel Church? Still once a month support?
well, we put the word out before this recent hospitalization. His daughter, Constance, contacted me and said, hey, we still need some preachers. So I resent the message out. And I think we've only had one respond since then.
Right.
But we had a guy who said he would be willing to come. So what I need to do is talk to Constance and say, you've got the phone numbers of all of those preachers who've been there. You need to call them personally and say, can you come back? Several of them said they would. depending on their schedule. So I don't know if she's able to do that, but I do need to encourage her to do that.
Right. And so before, when you were sending them, were you paying for their travels fees, and then the church would give them a honorarium? Is that how that worked?
Right. We offered to take care of their expenses, and some of them didn't ask for it. Some of them just went.
Okay.
A few of them did ask for the expenses, and I think Calvary tried to give an honorarium to every one of them,
Okay.
to their
All right.
credit.
Man, it just looks like you've got your hands in so many different pots. One is your own new church assignment as a missionary, traveling as a missionary to different countries and looking at the work and becoming familiar with the work, and still your former position, you're still involved in that to some degree, it sounds like, because that's where these pastors are coming from, correct?
That's right. And, I mean, there's nothing really official about it. Although I did ask the network if we needed to pay the pastors, if we needed to cover those expenses, would they be willing to front the money? And the answer I got was yes. So hopefully they're still my friends and I can still call on them to do things. Thank the Lord.
Very good.
I
Very good.
tried not to burn any bridges with my
Right.
friends.
Right.
Although I've been trying to burn a bridge with you because I thought you might cross it and
fall
be
down.
I thought you might be a pest in my life, and I thought if I could just somehow end the relationship, things would be healthier for me. I can't. I can't shake it.
It's for life. So let's talk about last Tuesday.
Okay.
Now, I forgot leading into July 4th that last Tuesday was July 4th. And so it was funny because Renee came in the next day and said there was a call from Pastor Randy asking if we were broadcasting. And did you receive a communication from me on WhatsApp or on your phone simply saying that
I
we
did.
broadcast?
It said you were not going to broadcast, but I saw
Okay.
that after I called in. Yeah.
So I said today when I sent the text out this morning, I said, I hope he gets a chance to see that and not think that we're not going to broadcast. So did you, the only thing that happened to you was the time sequence was off for you, right?
Well, yeah, I was over here and we were trying desperately to set up Wi-Fi so I could be available. And I hadn't seen the message. And so I embarrassed myself again, getting everybody psyched up for a radio show that I was not going to be on. So that's kind of the way it goes with me.
Well, I'm glad it worked out. And I wish that I wish that your phone. Well, I wish that your phone had Wi-Fi on it so that you could actually go out and show us different parts of the place where you're located, where you're at. So that's not a possibility at all because your phone doesn't connect. There's no Wi-Fi where you would be walking around, correct? And your phone's not
right.
It's not like an international phone.
The lady, one of the waitresses here, she's a friend of our pastor here, and so she brought me inside. And she gave me the staff Wi-Fi so that it would be secure. So it's really, I'm very thankful. So I can't walk around because I would lose that Wi-Fi connection.
Well, I think the next time we do this, very seriously, I think if you were to take some pictures and actually send them to me, I could try to we could put them on the screen and you could say, this is the missionary site. This is, things that you could show off. Obviously, there might be some things you can show, but I think that we could let people see with the shared screen where you're at, the place that you're at, meet some of the people that you're obviously ministering with. I think that would be a good way of bringing people even further in, because right now we're just seeing you. And I'm not saying that not a good sight, you know. You hear what I'm
Oh, come
saying?
on, man. That is really insulting. And hey, I'll tell you what we might could do.
Go
Uh,
ahead.
I might try to send you a few pictures right now to
Okay.
your text message. And then I will come back. I will try to get back on Zoom after I send you some pictures. So you can talk for a few minutes. How does that sound?
Okay, now I'm trying to figure out if you send me the pictures, you're gonna send them to my phone, then I'll have to
Yeah.
send them from the phone to here and then try to bring it up. Okay, let's try.
All right.
Let's be
Let's
let's
use
use
this
our
technology.
imaginations. Okay, let's try.
All right. Here we
So
go.
okay. So as you know, my brother, Pastor Randy, is in Nairobi, Kenya, and he's serving in his capacity as a director of missions at the church where he's located. And he, from time to time, he goes to different missionary sites around the world, and he's able to minister, to see these ministries, because some of these ministries are new to him because they're a part of his new opportunity that he has to minister in his later life, in his later years, let's say. And so I thought it would be um, helpful if he had some photos of some of the people or places where he's been, some of the photos of the people that he could share, and we could share those photos on the air. I think that would be exciting to be able to achieve that. And I'm going to have to pick up on my phone these photos and then share them on Zoom, all in real time, folks. I'm going to try to do this in real time, and
Hmm.
going to have to do what we call double duty to do this. So I'm
And I
waiting
know
for
you
some
can
of them
do it.
to. Uh, I appreciate the vote of confidence. I really appreciate that. And and when I fail. Now, for those of you who are looking right now on the screen, you see the real Randy, the live Randy on the screen, but behind him you see a man in a hat, and he has glasses on, real slick street glasses on. That's Pastor Randy. That's the real Randy that he doesn't want us to see. But we caught him today with his glasses on and his hat, and he's just sitting down. And again, this is what we're trying to do, bring up some of these photos.
Uh,
And I think the other thing that would work also in the future, because we can talk about the future, if if there was a service that was going on, if you took some of the video of the service and was able to send up that to us, these photos and services, the video, could go up on the shared screen and he could talk about them, and we could see even more of this missionary experience that he's participating in. Randy, this group that you're with right now, this is not the group that you were with your church, your former church. This is a new missionary site that you're a part of, correct?
well, I've known this. The people in Nairobi that we're working with are very old friends. They are people that we've worked with for many years. The people that I brought over with me, they're from First Presbyterian Church in Chattanooga, plus two Native Americans who've come from the state of Washington that
Oh,
our church have ministered to them. And we wanted to do something special. We wanted to try to expose Native Americans who we have been doing mission work with them for years, to
yeah,
have them come on a mission trip. They have never been able, they don't have the money to be able to raise it in their own community to come
right,
on a foreign missions trip. So we
right,
have two Yakama ladies here. Yakima is an Indian reservation in the state of Washington, and they are from a tribe. And so Kenyans understand tribes. And so it's been really fun to see that. And unfortunately, I couldn't get any pictures that would, I couldn't message them to you for some reason. So
Okay. Oh, well,
I failed.
but that's something to think about moving forward when you do something like this. I think it would just add a tremendous amount of context and content to our broadcast. Again, I do it every time that we're on the air. I give you the context of my broadcasting on the ocean. I'm showing you the broadcast on the ocean. I do it every time we broadcast. And if I do this, you and my other good friend, Stephen Davis, should make some type of effort to give context and background that's like mine. You hear what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying. And
Now,
I agree.
let
I
me
just
ask
sent
you.
you one.
Oh, you did send me. Oh, see, he wasn't going to give up. That's so funny.
Did that
All right.
come through?
Yes, it did come through. It's a video.
Right. So just driving in Nairobi traffic.
Yeah, you had mentioned a few moments ago that you were on a motorcycle, not here, but in one of your trips over to Africa, you rode a motorcycle?
Yeah, when I lived here in 1982, I did a lot of cool things. I learned how to ride a motorcycle in city traffic. I learned how to fly. I soloed in an aircraft.
Oh,
I
wow.
climbed to Mount Kenya, about 15,000 feet, and I ran my first marathon. I did all those things when I was here as a missionary, and it was like, in my manliness years.
Well, when you say that you learned how to ride a motorcycle, did you learn how to ride over there, or did you learn how to ride in the United States and you
I
brought
learned
that?
over here. I learned
And
over
and
here.
and and you were licensed? So they gave you a license over there?
They let me use my American license, which was
Wow.
really cool.
I
Yeah, I
see
should
an
have
ele
gotten a motorcycle. Yeah, we
you
went
should
to a game park. We took a day off and we went to a place called Amboseli.
yeah.
And Amboseli is right at the foot of Kilimanjaro. And obviously wonderful animals, uh, just an amazing, amazing time.
I just sent one to me. I'm gonna see if I can get the other one. So, oh, you got zebras?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
And what was amazing, the zebras were watching the lions eat a baby zebra that they had just killed.
Oh,
And
that's the
so
best.
the zebras were like in traumatic shock. they were they were watching the lions very carefully.
Wow. And looking at the pictures of the elephants and the zebras, um, it looks like you were either close or you brought them up close via your camera. Were you that close to
We
the
were that
zebra?
close. We were in a van, and you could just take pictures right out of the van. Just it's
That
an
is amazing.
amazing experience.
That's
You'll
amazing.
see me with Pastor Mukuku as he's interpreting as I preached at the church on Sunday.
Okay. So
Did you catch?
I'm now going to select these photos because they're on my phone and I am sending them via email to me.
Uh-huh.
And I'm trying to continue to talk while we're doing this so that we don't lose people in the process. Let's see if that came through. I'm going to go to this computer that you're on right now, and I'm going to try. Now, here's what will help me to do this. Did you mention that you did speak or you will be speaking at the church?
I I spoke on Sunday at the
Okay.
church in Kibera. I will be speaking this coming Sunday at another church here in Nairobi called New
Okay.
City, Nairobi.
Okay. So if you could share with us, take some time while I get these photos up and share with us uh, the message that you spoke or the message that you will be speaking and the biblical references so that there's content going out while I'm putting up the photos.
Okay, I'll be happy to. The sermon that I preached last Sunday, I was preaching to a congregation of very poor people.
Okay.
And so I decided to speak from two texts in the book of Luke. And in the middle of the first text, I went to the second text. And the first text is a text where Jesus said, "Don't be afraid of those who kill the body and can't do any more to you. Be afraid of the one who, after he has killed you, is also able to send you into hell." And that's a really scary passage. But then Jesus says, "But don't be afraid. Aren't 5 sparrows sold for 2 cents?" He said, "You're worth more, so much more to God than a sparrow. He even knows the numbers of hairs on your head. So don't be afraid." And in the middle of that, I talked about death. And I said, let's go to a parable that Jesus taught in Luke 16, which is the parable of the rich man and Lazarus. And in that parable, it says that the rich man had a comfortable life. He had beautiful clothes. He ate sumptuously every day. And then people took Lazarus, who is a man who is sick and handicapped. They brought him to the front gate of the rich man, and they laid him there in the hope that even some of the crumbs from the rich man's table might fall so he could eat. And it said he was so destitute that even the dogs would come and lick Lazarus's sores. And so it came to pass that the angels came and took Lazarus home to what is called Abraham's bosom, or heaven. And he was laid next to Abraham. And then the rich man died. But the rich man didn't go to Abraham's side. He went into a place of torment where there were flames, that what we call hell. And Jesus said he looked up, the rich man looked up and saw Lazarus lying next to Abraham. And he said, Father Abraham, he said, would you please send a Lazarus down here into hell to wet my tongue? Because it's terrible, I'm in torment. And Abraham said, no. There's a great barrier, there's a great gulf fixed between people up here in heaven and you in hell. And they can't cross over. You can't come up here and they can't come down to you. And so then the rich man said, well, Father Abraham, send Lazarus to my 5 brothers and warn them so that they won't come into this place of torment. Mm-hmm. And Father Abraham said, no. He said, if they don't believe the Bible, if they don't believe the Moses and the prophets, they won't believe even if somebody comes back from the dead. And so I explained to the people, I said, look, Lazarus, he didn't go to heaven because he was poor. He went to heaven because he had the faith of Father Abraham. Abraham is the father of the faith. And Abraham was granted righteousness because he believed. And that's why Jesus shows that Lazarus was lying next to Abraham. He was, even though he was poor, he was rich in faith. But the rich man had no faith. And so he went to hell. And so let's go back to what Jesus said. Don't be afraid of those who can kill your body and can't do any more to you. Mm-hmm. Be afraid of the one who, after he kills you, could send you to hell. He's talking about God. And I said, it's appointed unto man once to die, but after this, the judgment. And I said, but look at, in my last point was, you don't have to be afraid, because the Father knows you. He knows all about you, like he knew Lazarus. He loves you. You're worth more to him than the sparrows. And he proved that he loves you by sending Jesus to die for you, to make a way for you to go from hell to heaven. You can cross that barrier because God sent Jesus to die on the cross for you so you could cross over. And I'll tell you, I wish I'd had a choir behind me that could be singing how I got over right at that moment.
It's my understanding that you have a voice, so why didn't you just break out and start singing the song yourself?
I didn't want to ruin all the points I just made in the sermon.
That's I think I was listening to you share that story, that message, and I was trying to follow you, and I stopped doing what I was doing because I was following you with the message.
Praise God. I hope you got saved.
I knew you were gonna end up. I knew you were gonna go there. Let me see if I can bring this up now. So this is let's try that. Do you see that?
So, I see the zebras.
Okay, so talk to us about, I see it right down at the bottom. So talk to us about this thing, where you were. You said you were inside of a vehicle?
We were at one of the great national parks that Kenya has some wonderful national parks. And this one is called Amboseli. And it's right at the foot of Kilimanjaro, which is a mountain. Really, it's in Tanzania, right on the border of Kenya. The mountain is 20,000 feet high. So it's higher than any of the Alps, any of the Rockies. It's just an amazing sight. And the water from that mountain flows down into this desert area called Amboseli. Mm-hmm. And that's why so much wildlife is able to be there.
And that elephant, I don't know, I can't see exactly what that other animal is, but are they like close to each other? The elephant's pup is actually...
Okay, the elephant is standing next to what is called a wildebeest.
Okay.
Some people call it a canoe. But wildebeest, there are thousands of them, and they migrate throughout from the Serengeti up into Kenya. And lions like to eat zebras and wildebeest. And so do crocodiles. When the wildebeest cross the river, and the crocodiles go for them.
And then there's this one here with our zebra friends. So they definitely cannot outrun a lion, a tiger pursuing them, correct?
Well, lions pretty much have to set up an ambush to get a zebra. They try not to do a full out race with them.
Okay.
And there have and a lion has to be careful because if it comes right up behind a zebra will kick it in the jaw and try to break its jaw. So it's not always an easy kill for a lion. So lions like to kill baby zebras.
Right.
They are an opportunistic killer.
And do the
I haven't seen any more pictures except the zebra. You got any more you're going to put up?
I think I had a question about the zebras. So as it relates to the baby zebras, the only way they can be, one of the ways they can be attacked is if they wander away from a group of zebras, or if they're in a group and the lions, as you're saying, trying to set them up. Can they set them up when they're in the group and the baby lion just can't keep up with the adult zebras and trying to escape?
Yeah, if the baby zebra, you have lions who set up an ambush. And so if all of a sudden a baby zebra runs right by a lioness or a male lion, they're catches. And there's nothing the other zebras can do except stand there like they're standing here watching a baby zebra being eaten.
Now, I just put up a picture, but it's not going to give us the full width and height of the photo. I probably would have to figure out how to do that, but I see you standing next to either a pastor or an interpreter. I'm going to play this.
Yeah,
So
Pastor Makuku. And he was interpreting that sermon that I just shared with you that I preached. And it was a lot of fun preaching with an interpreter. And, you
what
know,
did
in
he
the
say?
sermon, I said,
Go ahead.
I'm kind of, when Jesus said, don't be afraid of the man who can kill you. And I said, well, to tell you the truth, I am afraid of people who can kill me, and so I'm going to hide behind Pastor Makuku and let him get killed first.
He
And
didn't
then
say
somebody
that.
told me,
Oh,
I
you
did.
said that?
And then,
Uh-huh.
and then somebody said, when he was interpreting, he said, no, he said, I'll hide behind Pastor Nabors. Let him get killed first.
And then there's the last one, but again, we can't. I'm going to play it, but it's looks like there's no seconds on it. It's the cars on the stroller. It has two at the same time. It doesn't give. Are you able to see both of those on the screen?
Say that again.
Are you able to see both of these on the screen? The photos.
On my little phone, I'm only able to see the zebras.
Okay.
I haven't seen
So
anybody else.
the zebras are not the I still see the zebras on my TV in front of me, but I have on my screen, but it's not showing it. The car, but it's for some reason it's not actually showing it. So maybe videos is another thing I got to figure out how you show the video on share. But this sounds again, I think this would be very helpful for people to be able to see some of these photos, and I'll figure this out regarding the video. Okay, so we have about 10 minutes left to talk, and next week you are actually going to be back in the United States, I
Lord
believe.
willing.
And we had a group from our church who went to Thailand and to Korea last week, and they talked a little bit about it. One of the pastors talked about it on the way when she was raising the offering on Sunday. But she spent more time talking about the 15-minute ride on a 12-hour, 13-hour trip with the plane went through turbulence for 15 minutes. And
Scary.
she said it was horrific. She had never experienced that kind of turbulence before. And it was tense on the plane. People were praying. It was really, really intense. Have you ever gone through that kind of experience on coming back from one of these long trips around the world? That level of turbulence?
And, I wasn't there, so I don't know how terrible it was, but I've been on planes with a lot of turbulence, and it is scary. And, the reality is you can die on one of these mission trips. And I used to tell my people, you need to go on a mission trip before you die. It's okay to die on a mission trip, but before the Lord calls you home, you should experience this. And, people say, well, wait a minute, I don't want to get hurt. But we're talking about spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ. And, for all these years, Apostle Paul, how many times was he shipwrecked? How many times was he beaten with whips and stoned and left for dead? We are so privileged. We want everything to be so completely safe and protected. We want guarantees that there won't be any turbulence on the plane, that the plane won't crash, that we won't get robbed or beaten in the city that we go to, that we won't have an automobile accident. We got insurance coverage, for international travel. If anything happens to us, all the bills are going to be paid. If we die, they're going to ship my body back, we got it covered. But the reality is there's always a risk. And if you love Jesus Christ, you need to be able to have the faith and the courage to put your life on the line to share Jesus Christ with other people. There's no getting around it. You can't just, say, no, I'm just going to stay safe at home and use Facebook. I mean, let's be real. People
Right.
need to see you show up and share Jesus with them.
Yeah. We were teaching this Sunday. We started a new series on the Great Commission, and twice a year I feel that needs to be taught from different angles, but the Great Commission needs to be taught. And we talk about the mission statement of our church, and we show that every aspect of the mission statement comes out of the Great Commission and Jesus declaring what he was called to do. And then we talked about the core values of the church, because there were some new people sitting in the congregation, and I said, you want to know the mission of the place that you're at. You want to know what the purpose of that ministry is, and you want to know what are the core values of that ministry, and what are the outcomes. And then we identified a number of ministries in the church, and I took them one by one, and I said, if these ministries are not, if you don't see the Great Commission in these ministries, we shouldn't be doing it. It's not a part of our mission. So I went over all of them, and the first three that I went over, people were completely quiet because I was talking about their ministries, and fortunately, on all of these ministries, because I did it before we stepped in to do this, I knew that they connected, that the Great Commission could be seen in all of them, because otherwise they wouldn't have happened in our church. But I think it's important to remind people of the Great Commission and what we should be doing, because we always get settled in, even when your church is going through a major crisis or a change, it smooths out, and it's okay now. And you don't want the enemy to come at you. For example, we have something happening in our church right now that I don't understand why it happened, but it's going to try the faith of many of us in this church to get through this. And when you understand what you're supposed to be doing with the Great Commission, going and making disciples, the more you move in that direction, the more you're going to see the attacks coming on your body. And you have to be willing to suffer. And that's why folks need to read the word to see how the apostles, the disciples, the missionaries, to see how they went through their struggles. And even in the midst of the struggle, they still fulfilled their mission. So that to me, is an important word that you just shared. We have 2 minutes to go. Any final words before we let you back on your motorcycle?
Well, one, I just want to thank you for your love, Bruce, and thank you for the prayers of the people. I hope that you'll pray us out, but let's keep praying for Dr. Davis and for a blessing and peace on him. Next weekend, there'll be some folks gathering in Chattanooga, Tennessee for the youth group of the Conquerors Club reunion that Stephen used to be in. And so I'm sure we'll be remembering him there.
Yeah.
But it's what a fantastic privilege it is to be here in Africa, speaking to you in Boston. The technology is amazing, but the gospel is the same gospel, and it still needs to go around the world. And so pray for the fruit of the gospel to be evidenced here in Africa as well as in Boston.
Father, we do thank you for this broadcast and for Randy and I to be willing to say that we're not perfect, and our broadcast doesn't have to be perfect, and we can try new things and be able to show people